What's up, everybody? Thanks for joining the Glass Horror Channel, the best horror channel here on YouTube. Happy October! We are finally in our favorite month for all horror fans. So, with that, one of my things that I love to do every October is have a Saw marathon. So I figured, what better way to kick off the month by doing a ranking of the Saw films, all 9 of them, from worst to best. Let's get started. Alright, so before I get started, check out the buttons beneath me. One says subscribe, hit that real quick, I'll wait. You good? Alright, we're all on the same page. So listen, there are 9 Saw movies, and the truth be told, my favorite horror series is the Saw series because of the twists and turns that go throughout. So I am really excited about ranking these because not one of them can I say is actually a bad movie. Now, in the terms of Saw, obviously some are better than others, but they're all very serviceable and keep to the central theme of the Saw franchise relatively well. So let's get started. Number 9, Spiral. Listen, I love Chris Rock, and I was really excited when I heard that he was enthralled with the Saw series and wanted to do something different and take it on a different path. I really appreciate that. And I think what got him excited was looking at David Gordon Green and Danny McBride's success with Halloween, being them coming from comedy and translating to horror and it going well. Same with Jordan Peele, going from comedy to horror and it going well. The difference is they were not in their movies. Chris Rock is one of the worst parts of the movie for me. Every time he tried to be serious, he came across just being comical. I couldn't take him seriously. So that's my number 1 reason why I didn't like it. Number 2 reason I didn't like it, the recording voice. So John Kramer, Jigsaw, has over 8 movies had this deep voice that makes it just seem like when you hear it, you're in trouble. You just know if you hear that tape go off in his voice, you're in trouble. Now I understand with him not being a part of it, they wanted to go a different direction. They wanted to go the complete opposite and still make it creepy. And it wasn't horrible, but when you get so used to a certain tone and then it completely flips the other way, it can leave a bad taste, and that's what it did for me. That's the second reason that I make it the worst. I just didn't like it. I couldn't get connected to it. Now, for the perks, they did have good kills, and there was a good twist. When it comes to a Saw movie, as long as the traps are good, the twist at the end there's always got to be a twist. There's always got to be a good one. This one definitely saw it coming, but it still came across well. It just was a little bit more in your face than the other ones were. So those are the reasons why it's my number 9. Coming in at number 8, Saw 5. Here's why. For the most part, every Saw movie, when the people get put into traps or get put into everyone after the first one, they have some relationship to John Kramer somewhere, somehow. These people that were put into this room to go through this teamwork exercise, they had no connection to him. They just ended up being part of a building that collapsed and killed people. So granted, yes, it is somewhat about the appreciating your life, but not really in the terms of just being more of a predator. So if we're trying to stick to the central themes of Saw, it's about appreciating your life, and generally somebody has done something wrong to John Kramer, and that's how they get trapped into the traps they're into, or they have some kind of connection with him in some way. This one was not that. So that being that the main central theme and it not being connected as strongly to the Saw franchise, that has been be my number 8. Now, that's not to say that I didn't enjoy it. I very, very much enjoyed the fact that they had to work as a team and didn't realize it until it was too late. So I did very much like Strom versus Hoffman in Saw 5. So that part was good, but it's still my number 8. Now coming in number 7, Saw the Final Chapter. Now, from a storyline perspective, the fact they were able to, spoiler alert by the way, the fact they were able to bring back Dr. Gordon was great. I like that because there's not been one person that interacted with John Kramer that didn't come full circle in some way, shape, or form. So for him to come back and the way that he came back, I was impressed with that. Now, they slapped the 3D on it, and not every movie needs 3D. Saw has built a legacy not doing 3D, and it was still doing well by comparison to some other movies that kind of shoehorned the 3D aspect in because they were trying to revive the franchise. If they would have made the movie they made without the 3D aspect, it would have been great because we had an amazing central story of a guy who claimed to be a Jigsaw survivor. Not only did he claim that he never was one, but he also put not only the people that lied for him at risk, but also his wife, who was completely innocent to everything, at risk as well. And that again goes to the interaction with Jigsaw and why it would make sense that this person would be a part of the central theme. So that's my number 7. Still a good movie. It just didn't need it just didn't need the 3D, and for that reason is why it gets put number 7 for me. Number 6, Jigsaw. So I really like Jigsaw. I thought it was good. It's the first one. Well, I like how they were able to go prior to the original Saw and kind of show how Jigsaw got started. I really like that, and you can tell within that Jigsaw's heart was not as soft, not as hardened as it became as time went on. But and the traps are really good. I always liked the idea of more than one person being a part of what's going on, or it affecting like multiple people having to fight this trap or get out of this trap and work together. And it just so happens that every time they're in this position, they don't work together the way they should. If they did, things would go a little bit easier for them. But I did like the traps very much so. I did like the acting, and I liked the twist of this. The laser collar was awesome, and when it was activated, the final visual of what happened to that detective was absolutely amazing. But what it suffers from is a lot of times when a movie is kind of, I would say, overstayed their welcome, or it's had a long lineage, a long time, around, and then takes a gap and then tries to come back, something just isn't, it doesn't always translate the right way. And there was something missing with this one. I don't really know what it was. It didn't give me the same feeling that I got. I wasn't on the edge of my seat the way I was on the edge of my seat with the previous Saw movies, including Final Chapter. All of them still had me enthralled from a storyline perspective. This didn't. And I think part of that might be, after seeing 7 of the movies, you kind of know there's going to be you're looking for the twist. By the 3rd one, I was looking for the twist. So, or no, sorry, by the 4th one, but you eventually looked for the twists, and if you look hard enough, some of it can be found. I really did like the way they ended this one up though. So that's my number 6. Coming in at number 5, Saw 4. So Saw 4 was when you finally, you finally start to see that Jigsaw is specifically going after cops. And this was the first movie after, spoiler alert again, after the death of Jigsaw in Saw 3. So how would it work? They did a really good job with still keeping him involved through flashbacks, through pre-recorded tapes, through mainly to those reasons. Did a great job at tying some loose ends that were leading up, that would tell more of the story. I also liked following Agent Rigg, Detective Rigg, and the fact that he always wanted to go in guns blazing and save everybody. As twisted as the Saw franchise is, it's always trying to teach someone something. Regardless if that lesson is horrible or not, the idea behind it is supposed to be a good one. But so this one was really good, and from this point forward, they all get amazing. But that's my number 5. My number 4 is going to be Saw number 6. Now listen, here's what I loved about Saw 6. They took the idea of the group aspect that they used in 5, mixed with the idea of the aspect they used in 7. So they took a main character who had a personal relationship, a personal interaction with John Kramer. That's already, that's a plus. He did, in John Kramer's mind, did him wrong, was a bad person, was a shark as an insurance salesman, only determined on who can take insurance and who can't. John Kramer went to him saying that he had an idea for a cancer cure, and he said, no, we don't want to take you on. So for that, now his entire team is now at risk, and everyone that he works with is now at risk. So watching, and the cool thing about it is he had to determine with his insurance, he has to determine on who lives and who dies, essentially. So in his quest, he had to do the same thing with people that he actually knows. So I really like this, and this twist at the end did not see coming, not even anywhere close to it. So this was an amazing Saw movie, Saw number 6. Coming in at number 3, Saw 2. Now a lot of people love Saw 2. They think it is either even better than the first, or they like it just as good as the first. Now, you may be upset with these next, with my rankings going forward, but this is personal opinion, and I want to hear yours. So if you are disagreeing or you do agree, let me know in the comments below. Let's talk about it. So, number 3, Saw 2. Now, Saw 1 left such a huge impact, and I understand why Saw 2 was made how it was. It just didn't grip me. It just didn't grip me in the way that every other sequel did. I don't know why that was. There's nothing wrong with the movie per se that put it in number 3 versus putting it higher, but I liked it. I liked it a lot. It's just not as good to me as these next 2. So coming in at number 2, Saw. Saw 1 is my number 2, and I know what you're thinking. You probably want to turn this off. Just bear with me, okay? Bear with me. Let me explain. Saw franchise would not be here, obviously, without Saw 1. I get it. I understand, and I respect it. Saw 1 is when Saw 1 first came out, a lot of people likened it to 7. They thought it was a 7 ripoff. I heard a lot of people say that, okay? I remember seeing it in the theater with people that I used to work with, and I was hooked. But for me, the end of the movie was what solidified that movie. Okay? I'm not saying everything before that wasn't great, but it was not as good to me. In the entire runtime of Saw was not as strong as the ending was. Okay? So I cannot put this movie number 1 simply because it was number 1 and simply because the ending was amazing. Okay? If we're gonna make a list about a best endings, cool. Saw is gonna be number 1, most likely. I gotta think about that one though. It might not be, but it's gonna be up there. But for the purposes of this, as great as Saw is, it's only my number 2, which leads me to my number 1, Saw 3. I think this was the best Saw of the entire franchise because of the central people involved. The Jeff and his wife, you had no idea what was going on, and separate. The whole thing about the setup and the loss of a child, the idea that this woman was seeing someone in a hotel, and now she has this collar around her neck, and if she doesn't save John Kramer and he dies, then her head blows up and she dies too. The entire thing is tense. The stakes are super high. Not that they weren't high in any other Saw movies, but there was something about this movie that gripped me from the start to the finish, and the end is absolutely phenomenal. As great as the Saw 1's ending is by itself, for the reason as no one saw it coming. Okay? What I love about storytelling is when you can branch out into multiple directions, and then as you tell your story, it all comes to a head. And that's what happened in part 3. It just came to a perfect head for that movie. So that's my number 1. I know some of you guys, you're still with me now. I really appreciate it. Thank you for hanging out the whole time. Some of you are pretty upset with me. That's completely fine. This is my opinion. I welcome yours. So I want to know what you think about it. Leave me like this video or dislike it if you didn't like it, but leave a comment. Tell me what you think. Tell me where I went wrong. Subscribe, because we're in October now. I cannot wait to show you what else I've got going on for you guys. But there's a lot happening this month. So subscribe so you can be the first ones to see what's happening next. I'll see you guys next time.